Proverbs chapter 3 verse 1. My son, forget not my law, O let thine heart keep my commandments. For lengthened days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. Let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck. Write them upon the table of thine heart. So shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of Elohim and man. Trust in the Most High with all thine heart, and lean not to thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Most High, and depart from evil. It shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones. What we see here in Proverbs chapter 3 are the keys to life. Many of us are searching for the keys to life. We want to find peace. We want to find long life. We want to find happiness. But happiness comes from keeping the commandments. These are the instructions. How can you expect to get the most out of a product if you don't follow the instructions? When you buy a new stove or a new device, you're going to have to read the manual. And the manual to your life is right here. That's why it's so important to read. And you don't want to wait and go through life trying to figure things out when the keys were right here all the time. It says, don't forget the law. Keep his commandments. At the end, you'll find length of days and peace, mercy. You'll find favor in the Most High and people. And it says, don't be wise in your own eyes, but trust in the Most High. Don't lean to your own understanding. Now, let's read Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting with verse 1. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments, which the Most High your Elohim commanded to teach you, that you may do them in the land where you go to possess it, that thou mightest fear the Most High, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee this day, thou and thy son and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. Verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Most High our Elohim is one. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God, and thou shalt love the Most High thy Elohim with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day, it shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and thou shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up, and thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes, and thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and on thy gates. Now, we see here again, the commandments are so important. This is Moses instructing Israel on how they were going to find success in the land once they crossed over Jordan. And he is warning them on what it's going to take to stay there. I hear so many people now saying how the commandments are done away with. In the New Testament, the commandments are no longer a thing. And the writings here were only for a specific time period, and that time period is over, and we've moved on to a new age. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And what people are trying to do is sway you, knowing fully well that most people haven't read. So what they're trying to do is trick you into unhappiness, pretending that they're giving you right instructions when all they really want is your money. The commandments are the keys to your happiness. The Most High is instructing Israel, and it says, you shall bind them for a sign on thy hand. You should have reminders. One of my favorite things that I have is my coffee cup, because I drink coffee about 3 times a day, and I have a cup with the commandments on it. You should always have reminders, have posters, put them on the post of your house, have a sign up. When people enter your house, they should know that the commandments are important to you. What should you be talking about with your children? Should you be talking about the latest fads or some Hollywood news? No, it says when you sit in thine house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. There's nothing else to discuss. All the other things are time absorbers. They're like trying to tie you up in this boxing match where they're just trying to hold onto your arms, then take all the fight out of you. But you have to fight for the commandments. It's how you're going to get your happiness. So are they right when they say the commandments are done away with? Let's read Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 8. How do we say we are wise, and the law of the Most High is with us? Lo, certainly in vain made he it. The pen of the scribe is in vain. Anybody says the commandments are done away with, you're saying the Most High wrote it in vain. He knew that we were not going to keep the commandments and punish us, knowing full well that we were unable to keep them and that the commandments didn't mean us any good. Why would the Most High spend so much time teaching Israel laws, statutes, and commandments just to say they were no good? It doesn't make any sense. There's a misunderstanding there. There's a lack of communication. And that's what he's upset about in Jeremiah, when you read here, saying, in vain made he it. All those prophets wrote all those commandments in vain for no reason at all. It doesn't make any sense. So is it true when they say that we are flesh and unable to keep the commandments of the Most High? Should we just go by what other people say, or should we read for ourselves? Let's read Luke chapter 1, starting with verse 5. There was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea, a certain priest named Zacharias of the course of Abiah, and his wife was of the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. And they were both righteous before the Most High, walking in all the commandments and the ordinances of the Most High, blameless. So it says that they were walking in all the commandments. Now, are these two the only two that are able to do that? No. The scriptures are plain. When they use the word blameless, it means walking in all the commandments. Does that mean that they never sinned? No, that doesn't mean. That's not what the scriptures are about. When people say, if you can't do all, then it doesn't make sense to even try. No, they were offerings for sin. Everybody sins and everybody does something wrong. But the Most High has a way of making up for that sin, and you become blameless before the Most High. So he kept all the ordinances, all the things that were written about in the book of Moses. And that's why when you read later on, the angel appeared to him. The Most High is not speaking to you if you are ignoring his commandments. Let's read Philippians chapter 3, starting with verse 4. And this is Paul speaking. Though I might also have confidence in the flesh, if any man thinketh that he hath whereof that he might trust in the flesh, I more. Circumcised the 8th day of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of the Hebrews, as touching the law, a Pharisee, concerning zeal, persecuting the church, touching the righteousness which is in the law, blameless. The righteousness of the law, blameless. But he's explaining to you, according to the law, according to the commandments written by Moses, he's blameless. And when he says that we should be blameless in other places, he's talking about the law. This idea that Paul is telling you that the law is done away with is a fabrication. The only thing that is not done anymore are the sacrificial laws, not the entire law. What about Christ or Yeshua? Do we have to accept him, or do we have to listen to what he has to say? And is that part of the law? Let's read Deuteronomy 18, starting with verse 15. The Most High thy Elohim will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me, and unto him shall you hearken. This is a prophecy all the way back from the time of Moses, understanding that the Most High was going to raise up salvation for Israel, a symbol of the Most High on earth. Accepting Christ is not something new, or accepting Yeshua is not something new. It was foretold of. What Paul is explaining in the New Testament is obedience to Christ or Yeshua is part of the law. You can't complete the law without accepting him. What if I'm not an Israelite? The law was only given to Israel. And if I'm not an Israelite, then I don't have to obey the law. Let's read Jeremiah, verse 12, starting with verse 14. And I'm using an online version because they have these nice little titles up here. It says, a message for Israel's neighbors. So this is a message from the Most High to Israel's neighbors that were near Israel, but they were not Israelites. These are not the lost 10 tribes of Israel, starting with verse 14. The Thus saith the Most High against all my evil neighbors that touch the inheritance which I have caused my people Israel to inherit. Behold, I will pluck them out of their land, and pluck out the house of Judah from among them. And it shall come to pass that after I have plucked them out, I will return and have compassion on them, and will bring them again, every man to his heritage, and every man to his land. And it shall come to pass, if they will diligently learn the ways of my people, to swear by my name, the Most High lives, as they taught my people to swear by Baal, then they shall be built in the midst of my people. But if they will not obey, I will utterly pluck up and destroy that nation, says the Most High. This is a prophecy that Jeremiah gives to all the other bloodlines that were not of Israel. He's letting them know if they will learn the ways of his people, in other words, the commandments, when the Most High's rulership is back in the earth, Israel will have to learn the commandments, and non-Israelites will have to learn the commandments. Any nation or any bloodline that refuses to obey the Most High plans to destroy. I would suggest to get a head start on the commandments. Don't let people tell you that if you're not an Israelite, that the commandments are not for you. The Israelites were supposed to teach all the nations the commandments, and that's the way it will end up. Let's read Deuteronomy chapter 30, starting with verse 1. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whether the Most High hath driven thee, and shalt return unto the Most High thy Elohim, and shalt obey his voice, according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Then the Most High will turn thy captivity, and have compassion on thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations, whether the Most High had scattered thee. So the key for us to return from captivity are the commandments. Everything that he commanded Moses. It's how we get to go home. But it can't be a little thing here and there. It says with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Our lives are so fractured now. We spend so much time doing the wrong things. It takes from what the Most High is expecting from us. The way I look at it is, how are we returning to the Most High with all our heart and all our soul when the majority of our time is spent working? To sum it all up, the law is not done away with. They're not just for Israelites. We have the ability to keep them, and it is required.
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment down below.